Oh, it is. It is a Thursday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with you for the next hour or so. Sometimes we go a little bit into overtime. We're going to be joined at around 12:15 by Ethan Skolnick, the boss man himself here from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We'll talk some Dolphins with him. We're also going to talk plenty of heat with Ethan. Oh, and I love that comment from Cap for Life. Put that back on the screen there. Cap is my dude. Donno, let's go. He says, we ride together. We suffered together. It's not over. We undead and still believe. He could be talking about the Dolphins or the Hurricanes, and I would hope that message still applies. So Ethan Skolnick is going to join us at 12:15 today. At 12:30, a new show regular and a new show favorite. We bring you 2 gambling experts per week because we always have our guy Lee Sterling on Fridays and Barry Barger, who joined us for the first time last week. He's going to be back on today around 12:30, helping us make some picks for Thursday Night Football tonight and for the rest of the NFL slate coming up Sunday in Week 3. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, before we get into the topic of the day, and I know that the title of this video, it's going to piss some people off. It's going to excite some people. Before we even started the show, actually an hour before the show started, I checked the video link and there was already a dislike to the video, I think because people hated the title. But we have a lot to get to today. We are served, as always, by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Guys, the Quarterdeck, this should be your spot all football season long. College football Saturdays and NFL Sundays, you can take advantage of the 5 for $15 ice cold bucket special. Heineken family of beers and High Noon hard seltzers. You can mix and match them to your heart's content in that bucket. 5 for $15 ice cold bucket. They have 2 for $1 happy hour all day, every day at the Quarterdeck. That never ends, no matter what day of the week it is. They've got the flat screen, high def TVs covering every wall to watch all the games on Saturdays and Sundays. And every Saturday, well, every one Saturday per month, I should say, when there is a UFC pay-per-view, like there is this weekend, you can catch every UFC pay-per-view fight at the Quarterdeck for 0 cover charge. You pay nothing at the door. So it's a beautiful thing. The seafood is so fresh. The oysters and Maine lobster, fresh fish. I love the sushi there. Build my own poke bowl. The Quarterdeck. If you want to find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go, visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. We are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Guys, just because your season-long team, you may already be ravaged by injuries, you can still do drafts and make money at Underdog Fantasy. It is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. There's no need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles all of that for you. Go to their website, underdogfantasy.com, or download their smartphone app, which is really easy to use. I'm on there all the time. And draft a best ball team. No in-season management. That's it. They're going to give you $25 of free play money when you sign up, so you can take a free shot at a $1 million guaranteed grand prize, I should say, in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get $25 free in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use our code 5RSN when you make that first deposit. Underdog Fantasy, it is the place to go. So, I see our guy, Big Dan, is in the chat. He hasn't been able to watch live for a while, so welcome back, Big Dan. And like he says, smash that like button for us, guys. Smash that like button. I prefer you smash the like than the unlike. We already have gotten a dislike today. Martina Davies, we appreciate you as well. Fins up. We got our guy Ray Grullon in the chat. Everyone this year would have been great if we had an early bye week. Yeah. Brian Flores wanted that late bye. He wanted that bye in December. Wouldn't it be nice to have a bye week coming up in the next couple of weeks to give Tua a little bit more time? David says, Donno, you need a new person deciding on the episode titles. I think there's a conversation we have to have here, okay? Because the Dolphins, you can look at this as a little bit of a dilemma, okay? Again, I have not treated Tua, nor am I a doctor, but the injury that Tua has with these fractured ribs, we know it's keeping him out this Sunday. He will not play against the Raiders in Las Vegas. Maybe it's just a 1-week injury, but it could very well be a 2 to 4 week injury. We dissected that with the Pro Football Doc. It could be a 2 to 4 week injury. So, listen, you're without your starting quarterback, the Miami Dolphins, for potentially the next 2 to 4 games during a very tough stretch of the season. This stretch, depending on how Jacoby Brissett does and depending on how that offensive line does, right? This stretch could be what kills your playoff chances before it even starts. So we're already seeing this. And I think, Manny, I sent you at least one tweet that's calling for this, the tweet from Craig M at Dolphin2334. You're seeing people now calling for the Miami Dolphins as we're still over a month away from the trade deadline. But obviously, you know, if you wait a month, it may be too late, you know, to effectively, you know, give you an option before Tua returns. But November 2nd is the trade deadline. Does this Tua Tagovailoa injury put more pressure on the Dolphins to make a deal with the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson? I put out a Twitter poll today. 56% of the respondents so far say yes, 24% say no, 20% say, well, it depends on the price. Now, guys, you know where I personally stand on this, okay? Now, we know that Deshaun Watson will probably never play for the Houston Texans again, because if he was going to play for the Houston Texans again, he'd be suiting up for them tonight. They're going with Davis Mills. Tyrod Taylor hurt. They're going with Davis Mills, not with Deshaun Watson. So they're either going to trade him this year or once the legal situation gets wrapped up. I'm personally not a fan of this idea for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, I think Deshaun Watson's a scumbag. That's my opinion. I've read enough accounts of what he's been accused of and the details behind that. I don't like a guy who I feel is a predator representing my NFL franchise. I do not like that idea. And, you know, listen, and the other part of it is no matter what I think of him as a human being, you still have pending litigation. You have 22 lawsuits that have not yet been settled. The dust has not settled on whether or not there are definitely going to be criminal charges. It's been a long time now since this story started coming out in March. So you might say 6 months later, hey, if there's no criminal charges yet, they're probably not coming. I can't guarantee that. Maybe 75, 80%, no criminal charges come out of this, but there still is law enforcement, including the FBI, that are sniffing around this situation. So a lot of this stinks. And then another part of it is, if you were to give up a big package right now for Deshaun Watson, you're effectively turning the page on Tua Tagovailoa and giving up on the guy before we've really seen what he can do, and hopefully seen what he can do against a competent offensive line, which we do not have yet. We do not have that at this time. And then, you know, for the entire blueprint, for the wrecking ball that Chris Grier took to that Miami Dolphins team of a few years ago to rebuild it from scratch, everything about this rebuild has been designed to be built around the foundation that is Tua Tagovailoa. And this young foundation, all these assets you've acquired, if you turn around and trade any of the assets you have left, and you're giving up on Tua as well to go for an expensive, risky from a legal standpoint proposition in Deshaun Watson, that move would reek of so much desperation. It would reek of desperation, and it would reek of a lot of risk, in my opinion. Now, you can take this as secondhand information because my source is not a direct source. My source has a source, but I think it's kind of a useful place to put sort of a benchmark on what you'd be willing to give up for Deshaun Watson before the trade deadline, because I know that some of you who have answered my poll question have said you'd be willing to do it, but it depends on the price, right? And, you know, I saw this tweet from a Dolphin fan who said there won't be a better time to trade for Watson than right now. He said the price will never be less compensation for his services, questions about his future. Season is in the balance for the Dolphins. He says, use the Tua injury as an excuse to make the trade. He says, I do everything to make the trade right now. I'm not sure if he's completely correct on compensation. Okay. If the Dolphins were to be ringing the phone lines off the hook in Houston right now, the Houston Texans understand the Dolphins are a little bit desperate right now, because if they're going to be without their quarterback, and again, I don't know how long Tua is going to be out. It could be a 2 to 4 week injury, though, or it might be a 1 week injury, but it could be as long as 4 weeks. We may not see Tua again. You've got important games coming up. Your playoff hopes are hanging in the balance. Don't you think Houston understands that? So, yeah, you can say, because of all the legal issues, the Dolphins have Houston by the balls and they have all the leverage. I look at it the opposite way. Houston has already been asking for a ton for Watson. And now if they know the Dolphins are really desperate because their starting quarterback is hurt, don't you think Houston would keep asking for a ton because they feel like they have the leverage right now? So again, this is secondhand information from my source who has a source, that apparently the latest conversations, he claims this happened since the Bills loss on Sunday. So Monday or Tuesday, these conversations open up again between the Dolphins and Texans, that the Houston Texans are asking from the Miami Dolphins for 4 first-round picks and Xavier Howard. That's crazy, right? And that's, I don't know if that's just where Houston says, this is where we're going to start the negotiation and you make us a counteroffer and we'll try to work from there. Chris Grier might as well hand his resignation papers to Stephen Ross tonight if he was really going to pull the trigger on 4 first-round picks plus Xavier Howard. Now, the first thing you would need to do there is, if you wanted to talk about making this deal, you take Xavier Howard out of the conversation. Untouchable, no thank you. Like, he's happy here. We just restructured to keep him here. Xavier Howard, more than likely, even though he's from the area, would probably not want to go to Houston and play for that team. That's kind of like committing career suicide right now with the state of that franchise at this point. So that's obviously too much. And then, okay, fuck out of here. 4 first-round picks and X. Now, even if you take X out of the equation, 4 first-round picks in itself, way too much. And I know what you're going to say. Donno, what has Chris Grier done with his first-round picks anyway? He's missed on a lot of these. Sadly, he's missed on a lot of those first-round picks. Well, couple things. I think he's due to hit on a couple first-round picks. And also, if you're talking about 4 first-round picks, so that's picks over, because do the Dolphins have multiple first-rounders coming up this year? I think there's a year, it's either this year or next year, where they do have multiple first-round picks, but you're talking about like the next 3 years worth of first-round picks. We don't even know for sure if Chris Grier would still be the general manager at that point. So you're talking about dealing away first-round picks that might even be for a future regime that maybe won't screw up the picks as badly as this one has. It's way too much. So I'm trying to see, 20. Okay, so yeah, Alfredo's right. It's 2023 when the Dolphins have multiple first-round picks. But still, if you're talking about 1 this year, 2 next year, 1 the year after that, you're talking about giving away the next 3 years worth of first-round picks. I like the comment from Martina Davies, who says, tell Houston to kick rocks. Michael Rodriguez says 2 first, 1 second, and X. That's still, listen, it's still, throwing X in that deal still sounds like way too much for me. That still sounds like too much. You guys tell me what you think about this, because I made it clear on this show 2 months ago. I made it clear on this show 1 month ago. I made it clear about 5 minutes ago that I am not comfortable with Deshaun Watson, the human being, quarterbacking for my football team. Am I on an island on that? Do I care too much about the morals and principles of the players who put on Miami Dolphins uniforms? Do I care too much when I say, hey, I draw the line at a guy who might very well be a sexual predator, has been accused of being a sexual predator? And the reason why I ask this question is I don't think NFL GMs, for the most part, really care about the moral aspect of it. Is that smart on their part? Are they alienating their fans? Are they just assuming all that our fans care about is winning and they don't care? You know, if we had a serial killer suiting up for us, they wouldn't care about it. And I ask this question because I notice a lot of the reporting on the Deshaun Watson situation, and another big aspect of it is not only are the Houston Texans asking for a lot, but they're also asking for a lot when we can't be sure he doesn't get suspended by the league. Right? We can't be sure he's not forced to miss time. So you might be trading multiple first-round picks and a Pro Bowl player for a guy who may be suspended for the entire 2022 season and like half of the 2021 season before it's all said and done. So I know that teams have wanted to have like conditions on this deal. Like, hey, like we'll give you these assets, but then if he gets suspended or thrown in prison, you have to give us those assets back. Houston is not willing to do that. So all this to say, it seems to me like the NFL general managers out there and NFL owners as well, because owners would have to sign off on a deal this big, right? They don't seem to care that this guy might be a terrible human being. They only seem to care as to whether or not he's going to be suspended or imprisoned because he might miss time. Like, you get what I'm saying? They don't seem to care about the moral aspect of it. They only seem to care, is he going to be allowed to play? Is he going to be good to go? Is he going to be able to suit up next year, this year? Is he going to settle these cases? Like, they don't care whether or not these women are telling the truth. They just care whether or not these women actually have a case against him. So do I put too much stock in that? Like, as a Miami Dolphins fan, do you think I care too much about the character of the people who put on that uniform? And like David writes in, the NFL never really cared about decent human beings. You know what? It reminds me, the Ray Rice situation. The NFL knew what he was accused of. Like, they knew the police report details of the incident where he knocked out his fiance, punched her out cold in the elevator. Yet the NFL didn't actually do anything until the video came out, because then the video swayed public perception. And even though the NFL knew all along what was on that video, they didn't really care until the video came out. And then that forced their viewers, their customers, to be upset about it. Oh, man. And yeah, Martina writes, Christ, Watson could be going to jail for the love of God. Marcus Robinson says, do not trade Xavier Howard. I agree. In this deal, in virtually any deal, but especially this deal, Xavier Howard has to be untouchable. Untouchable. Devin Jordan says, Donno, he's being accused now. If he's convicted, then I'm with you. I do not want him. Stick to Brissett and Sinnott. Absolutely not. Watson, too expensive and too risky, writes Eduardo. All right, I want to bring in our first guest to the show. This is a man, I think anyone who watches videos and listens to podcasts and reads content from 5 Reasons Sports probably knows who this man is. He's nice enough to join us here on another Thursday. Ethan J. Skolnick, among many other things, he is the host of Starting 9 here on 5 Reasons Live on Tuesdays and on Wednesdays. And, of course, all the amazing Heat content, 5 on the Floor, everything else he does for his own network. Ethan, how you doing this afternoon, sir?
Good. I apologize for the washing machine in the background here. So hopefully
I didn't even notice. Is that I can't even see.
Well, now that I brought it to your attention, you won't be able to put anything else in your head, because that's sort of how that works. But I apologize in advance for that. Things need to get done. You know, if my daughter's dress is not ready, I'll hear about it later. So working on that right now.
Fair enough, man. And so, you know, and even we can only speculate how long Tua is going to be out. We know at least one game. It might be a 1 week thing. It could even be up to a 4-week injury for Tua. Do you think, and I think I know your opinion on this guy, so I'm going to ask you to kind of to put on Chris Grier's shoes and maybe Stephen Ross's shoes. Do you think that potentially being without your starting quarterback for a few weeks might actually make them pick up the phone and say, okay, Houston, we want to talk?
I don't think that Tua being absent for 2 or 3 weeks changes that much. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't think it changes it in terms of trying to get him now. I think where this will come into play is that, you know, if you wanted to give Tua a chance this year to prove he could be the quarterback, whether it's his fault or not, one of the things that he needed to show was availability, right? I mean, that's critical for a starting quarterback. I think if they are inclined, or someone, maybe Steve Ross, is inclined to move on to try to get Deshaun Watson, the fact that Tua may not be able to show out this year makes it easier to make that request internally. For instance, like if you have someone, maybe it's the coach, maybe it's the GM, who's not necessarily in favor of such a move. It's like, well, okay, we gave this thing with Tua a chance. But we really haven't been able to see enough after 2 years. And now, you know, we have a defense that's ready, and now we need to go get this guy. So I don't think that it, in other words, is going to cause a Deshaun Watson trade in the next 2 or 3 weeks. That would surprise me significantly. But I do think it leads us a little bit closer maybe to a Deshaun Watson trade in the offseason.
And I think there's more pressure on the general manager now in Chris Grier to do something, to get something right. Because Ethan, I talked about it a little bit on my show yesterday. I know you did as well this week on the Starting 9. Just a lot of the misses that Chris Grier has had, specifically early round draft picks. I mean, a lot of his best picks, I mean, Xavier Howard was an early round guy, but a lot of his better picks were later round guys. He's missed with a lot of the 1s and the 2s. Is Chris Grier on the hot seat?
I think it's getting warmer. And the case that I made on Starting 9 yesterday is that really, as a general manager these days, you are entrusted with 2 things for your franchise to be successful: finding the right quarterback and then giving that quarterback the best chance to succeed. Well, we don't know about number one in part because he didn't really accomplish number two. I mean, you look at this offseason, yes, they did add speed outside, but we haven't really seen it, obviously, with Will Fuller yet. Waddle, I like the pick, but I understand why people are now looking and saying, well, maybe that really wasn't your biggest need. They didn't upgrade at running back. And here's my biggest thing with this, and tried to make this case on Twitter yesterday, is that it's not a bad thing to add young project offensive linemen who can become really good players. We've seen that work over the course of time in the NFL. The problem is when you're adding like four of them at once. I think that the mistake that was made here was not bringing in a couple of veteran anchors to the line, or maybe keeping Eric Flowers, or maybe going and trading for somebody else. But you're trying to break in, I mean, of their top six, four of them are kids. And, and whether Eichenberg was ready coming out or not, or they said he was, at Notre Dame, and he was an NFL ready player. We know that Austin Jackson was not. We know that Solomon Kindley was not. Dieter has switched positions and it looks better. Robert Hunt, I like, but now they may switch his position again. And I think all of these sort of uncertainty, like there's a certain point where like versatility is a negative. Like I understand you want to have a versatile line in case someone gets hurt, but when it's like every week it's musical chairs or chairs on the Titanic and you're just moving one to the other like that, how can anybody get comfortable? I think his mistake, people will talk about the Noah drafting, and I don't know what he's going to become, but it doesn't look good right now. Or Jalen Phillips. It's too early on that. But people will talk about that. But really, if he is sunk after the season, it will be because he didn't properly address the offensive line. And I don't think it's just the players he picked. I think it's the whole philosophy of too many young players on a line protecting a young quarterback. You need two guys who put their hand in the dirt, and you know what you're going to get from them. Maybe they're athletically limited. Maybe they're a little bit beaten down. They're bruised from years in the NFL, but they know how to play. They know how to pick up a blitz. They know how to protect in concert with other guys on the line. They know how to get in somebody's face, okay, and say, you need to block better. These guys just look beaten down, and then they're going to pick up their quarterback. It's like they're ashamed. It's not. They needed a couple of old dogs on the offensive line, and unfortunately, the only one they have is Jesse Davis, and unfortunately, he's just been a dog. So
he's the guy who got Tua injured,
right? So I mean, that was their solution to a veteran guy to keep around. That's not. Give me a guy who's been in an AFC or NFC championship game, who's gone, and just knows how to play. Again, doesn't have to be athletically gifted. I feel like Greer likes these project types. With these high upsides, but sometimes you just need to get someone who's solid, and they just they don't have it. I think Robert Hunt has got a chance to be solid. I don't know about the others. They could be here or they could be here, and right now it's here.
What's your feeling heading into this Vegas Raiders game? I mean, I think the Dolphins actually, despite 35-0 last week, I think there is a path to victory. I don't think I'm confident enough to bet on the Dolphins, not even at +4 in this game, but one area, obviously, we'll see how Jacoby Brissett does. He's a serviceable backup, didn't put up a single point last week. We'll see how he does. You got to emphasize the running game more because, the Raiders do have like a really fast, athletic defensive front for pass rushing, but they're a little bit small. So I'm hoping the Dolphins can actually push them over a little bit and run the football a bit in this game. So it would not surprise me if the Dolphins even beat the Raiders on the road. I'm not that confident in it. How do you feel heading in?
I mean, I'm not confident in it. I think, it was a lot of this to me depended on David Carr. I don't know. Why did I do that? On Carr's status, I'm still stuck in David. Speaking of guys who
speaking of guys with bad offensive lines, David Carr probably had maybe the worst one of all time. 62
times as a rookie. I don't know why that number sticks out in my head. But look, I think, some of it did depend on Derek Carr's status and all the rest of this. I don't have a ton of confidence in this unless the Dolphins can force turnovers. I think that is, and see, one of the things about this Dolphin team's construction, and I like them to win 10, 11 games this year. So there's a lot of things I like about this team, but one of the problems with them is they really are only built to play with the lead. Their defense, the way that it plays, the zero blitzing, they're built to play with the lead. They need to get up on you, and then, and again, it needs to be controlled on offense. They don't have it, either of their quarterbacks. I mean, Brissett maybe a little bit more than two at this stage, but like the improvisation is probably not going to end up well. And so but they can't do some of what you're talking about. It's like rely on the running game. Like they don't really have that kind of running game. Like they have guys they can throw the ball to out of the backfield, like Ahmed and Gaskin's okay. I mean, sometimes he seems to miss the hole. He runs hard. I like him as a player. I mean, I think in an ideal world, he's your third back, second. So they don't have an Ezekiel Elliott, okay, or somebody like that who it's like, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to ball control this thing. And not that Dallas is doing that right now either, but like they have the capability of it, and maybe we're going to run him 23, 24 times. They're not going to do that. I would be stunned if Myles Gaskin ends up with more than a dozen carries. So I just don't I don't know how they get this done without, Xavier Howard or Andrew Van Ginkel or somebody else creating big plays on defense.
Hey, guys know I have to ask Ethan some NBA questions. Huge news this week on Ben Simmons, his demanding of a trade, his holdout. He's not going to report for camp in Philadelphia. Now, he's only heading into the second year of a new max extension. I think he's still owed like $143 million. So what do you think the end game is here? Do you think he gets traded? And even if he does, he doesn't have a whole lot of leverage to pick his destination. So if he gets traded, is he going to have his say, or are they just going to send him wherever they get the best offer from?
Yeah, I think they're going to send him wherever they get the best offer, and I don't think the best offer is, is really there. I honestly, I don't think they're anything great. I think the most likely scenarios are Golden State or Toronto. Those are the two that I look at. I feel like Masai would take a shot on him, and they're kind of in sort of stealth rebuild mode. Like Toronto never really goes down to the bottom, in part because he drafts so well and he develops guys so well. So, you lose Lowry, but you've got an Anunoby, you've got a Van Vliet, you got a Siakam. Like they're going to be competitive, but I feel like Simmons. Simmons needs to get to a situation like that also that's not like a media hotbed like Philadelphia from a sports perspective. It's just not – he's obviously just not up for it. I think Golden State would be a really good possibility for him. And if that's the case, all Philadelphia is going to get is like Andrew Wiggins. They're not going to get much. They misplayed this thing from the start. I think it was clear before last season that the Embiid-Simmons partnership was not going to lead anywhere significant, but then they got the number 1 seed. So I think people got duped into it, and I think they did themselves. And I think there's also this perception of Doc Rivers that he's a player's coach and he can fix things. And we have seen lately, although I am a fan of Doc personally, we've seen lately that he doesn't really fix anything, except, lose 3-1 series leads. I
don't know if that's fixing anything.
No, it's not. And Daryl Morey, is much more competent GM than the past 3 they've had there, but he doesn't really get the people stuff right. It's more about, the numbers on a spreadsheet and how he can. And so I just think that they're boxed in. I think they're going to end up, like I said, with an Andrew Wiggins type and maybe a pick. Maybe CJ McCollum out of Portland. I mean, that would, if Dame wants to take, but they're close friends, Dame and CJ. I don't think that's who Dame wants traded. So I don't know, man. I will say this. It's good for the Heat because I thought that Philadelphia had finally kind of figured things out last year with Simmons and Embiid. And obviously Harris is the third guy, but then more shooting around him with Seth Curry. It seemed like the roster was better balanced. I think they're going to get 40 cents on the dollar for Ben Simmons. And so I think that's a win for the Heat.
So this one came in on the chat from our guy Hussam Patel. He asks, and this is not on my radar, maybe it's on yours. He says, "What's the story with Karl Anthony Towns? Sources say he has privately requested a trade."
I mean, it's not going to be here. I'll just. I mean, Jimmy. I was told. Thanks, Hussam. I was told. Yeah. I'm not even gonna say what I was told. It's not gonna happen. No, I mean, if you took the Jimmy thing out of the equation and you had a talent like Karl Anthony Towns out there, Pat Riley would be flying to Minneapolis without a coat to try to go get him. But he's not going to do that with Jimmy. And to be honest, the same applies with Ben Simmons. Here's the reality. You know what this proves again?
What?
Karl Anthony Towns is unhappy in Minnesota potentially, right? Ben Simmons is unhappy in Philadelphia. Jimmy Butler quarreled with both of them. Jimmy Butler's happy in Miami.
That's right.
Right. So who was right and who was wrong about who? Right. I mean,
Jimmy was right.
Jimmy was right, and those who were back Jimmy were on. And look, Simmons was the issue for Jimmy. There were other issues. I mean, there are other issues, but of the players, he had a better relationship with Embiid. We know that. And in Minnesota, everybody made it out to be a Wiggins thing, and it was really a Cat thing that he had the issue with. So Jimmy, yeah, that's right. And pretty simply, Jimmy was right. I mean, that's it. But the problem is, those are two players I can tell you that without Jimmy Butler here, Pat Riley would go after. Okay. Absolutely.
And I think Cap for Life was right with that comment, by the way. When Ethan laughs, it's because he knows, bro.
I just know. I mean, but here he would have gone after both of them. Ben Simmons, you're telling me Pat Riley wouldn't have looked at Ben Simmons, okay, or doesn't look at Ben Simmons as a guy, if they can fix him a little from a shooting perspective, that reminds him of Magic with his size and his playmaking ability, right? Okay. And Karl Anthony Towns, like, dude, he is the prototype big that Pat would go after. But I mean, it's just over Jimmy's dead body is what I was told.
Before I let you run, let the people know, by the way, because Heat training camp opens next week, Heat Media Day next week. What kind of coverage can we expect on the network?
Well, we'll be there. Alex and I are going to be credentialed for the season, Alex Lito and I. So we'll be there at Media Day. It's a little bit limited this year because of COVID and other concerns there. Do have to be vaccinated, by the way, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, me too.
And so it's a little limited, but we're going to have both of us down there. And then we'll also have Brady and Greg on the Zoom calls. So we'll be all over it. And then I'll be at the first preseason game. I'm curious to see, what it's like from a fan's perspective. Remember, at the beginning of last year, there were no fans, right? And it built as the season went on. I was sitting next to a noise machine. Now there's going to be actual fans there. And so, it'll be interesting to see how that flies. And, everybody's still in masks. But I think there's going to be an energy in the building. I think if you go back to, 2 years ago, again, the fans did not really get to enjoy the bubble thing up close. I mean, they weren't there. I mean, unless they were like one of the visions or whatever that was put into the arena, right. They weren't there. Right. And so they didn't really get to enjoy it. And then last year, when they did start to come back, the team was so lethargic at that point that it really wasn't fun. I do think that this year, having Kyle there and others, obviously Goran's going to be missed, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of energy in the building. I think there's a feeling that this team, they can just get there healthy. They're a little thin without Oladipo. I think they're pretty thin. But if they can just get to the playoffs healthy and in a good seed, like, they're not a team that somebody's going to want to play. And I think that, and they also, the teams that capture this town's imagination, and almost all of them are Heat teams, unfortunately, because they have a certain identity or personalities. Those teams had a personality. You look at obviously Dwayne was bigger than life, but then the big three had that was a different type of personality. And then you look at like the team from 2 years ago, that had a certain sort of likable, fresh, fun personality. Even you go back to, the Van Gundy, the Van Gundy team, the 03-04 team, right? Like, that team had a personality. I love that team. Yeah. Everybody does, but they had a certain personality. They were kind of upstarts. They really they just didn't care that you thought they were small, or you thought that they played a certain way. They played with a certain edge. This team is going to have a personality. Last year, that team was tired. They were just tired, and I'm not making excuses for them. They should have performed better in a lot of spots. But Alex, how many games can you remember from last year from a winning perspective that were memorable? The win against Brooklyn at home where Bam makes the shot. Maybe there was a win against Portland. There were not. You go to the previous year, Trae Young saying it's over and the Heat going on a 19-0 run. I mean, there were so many of those games. They just didn't have it in them last year. I think this year they'll have it in them. I think it's going to be fun.
Amen. Make sure you follow Ethan on the 5 Reasons Sports account at 5 Reasons Sports, and also at Ethan J. Skolnick. Thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your week and get ready for a big week next week.
All right, Donno. Be good. I'll get you my laundry.
I love it. Good stuff. Well, let's bring in our next guest, and we give this man a hero's welcome because he did really well last week with the betting advice that he gave us. If you took Barry Barger's betting advice from BetUS, you guys won money last week, and I want to talk a little bit about BetUS as we bring Barry in. Guys, football season is back. Life is back on for sports bettors. I know it was a difficult pandemic. BetUS has your NBA, NHL, UFC, PGA, and of course, your NFL betting lines up. This is their 27th year, and also live betting on all of it. I take advantage of live betting quite often. Log into betus.com or call them 800-792-3887. And you can get a 125% sign-up bonus when you sign up with our code. Donno has your hookup. You sign up with our code 5RSN125. You get a 125% sign-up bonus when you deposit with your credit card, or if you deposit with crypto. And again, I'm wearing the Bitcoin hat today. We are bullish, baby. We're making a little bit of a run today. If you sign up with crypto, you get a 200% sign-up bonus. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started right now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, America's favorite sportsbook, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. So let's bring in Barry Barger, who joins us from betus.com. And I got to tell you, last week, Barry, you were spot on. I think the only game that we lost on, and I bet it as well, was WFT because they didn't cover against the Giants. But you even had us with the prop of Jared Goff throwing an INT. And you had, and listen, Barry, sometimes my gambling problem is that I don't gamble enough. I was a little bit unsure about Green Bay minus 11. The line actually eventually hit minus 11.5. So I ended up passing on that, and I regretted it. And you told us not to bet against Aaron Rodgers, even with that big spread after the week he had in week one. Green Bay ended up covering. You also, and this was tough medicine for me as a Dolphin fan, but you liked Buffalo minus 3.5. We could have spotted them 34.5. They still would have covered that spread. So we came out, man. If I had only locked in Green Bay minus 11 or minus 11.5, I'd be doing the show live from a yacht today. So I will not, I will not pass on these plays again. How are you doing, Barry?
Doing great, man. Doing great. What another great week of football, man. And Tom Brady keeps amazing us, right? I mean, what is up with that guy? What is going on? 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, I think, this week.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's got 30. They got 30 or more points in 9 straight wins, an NFL record. So it's insane what the guy is doing, man. It's fun to watch all these games. You got some of these rookie quarterbacks that are not doing so well. Sam Darnold, he's doing well at his new team at Carolina. So, I mean, having Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, that sure helps you a lot, But it's good to see how this evolves. Already in 2 weeks, we're seeing all these different changes. It's crazy.
You brought up Tom Brady. If I had any discipline whatsoever, I would get on that TB12 diet. Just this past week, Barry, I was watching an old episode of the show Entourage, and it was an episode where Brady was a guest star. And this episode was from 2008. And I tell you, because obviously I'm a sports fan, I see Brady, 2021. I see him on TV like every single day, And from 2008 to 2021, looks exactly the same. Like has not aged a single day in the last 13 years. It's insane.
It's insane. And I mean, he must be on the Peyton Manning plan for commercials though, because he is on everything now. I mean, like he's like talking about. I'm like, what is this your last year? You're trying to like you don't have enough cash. You're just trying to change the chain. That's crazy. But yeah, man, it's insane. Like you mentioned that, like how he looks. I was just thinking like TB12 too, right? When I was talking about him earlier, I'm like, what's all in that stuff?
Yeah, I got to get on that. I want to look at some of these games coming up this week, and I selected some that I think are either interesting games or interesting spreads. I think this is an interesting game tonight on Thursday Night Football. And since we do Thursdays together, I like to get your take on the Thursday night game because, people have – and by the way, I see Big John Stud in there. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Big John Stud's going to be on with us tomorrow, by the way. Thank you so much. So we have the Carolina Panthers. You mentioned Sam Darnold playing well, going up in Houston against the Texans. And the interesting thing here, Barry, is they've got Deshaun Watson. He's still a Texan, but he's not playing. They're even with Tyrod Taylor hurt, they're going with Davis Mills. Now, listen, if history is any indication, the last time Tyrod Taylor got injured and a young starter took over, he went on to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So I don't know if that's going to happen here with Davis Mills. I'm thinking of Justin Herbert last year, but it's going to be Davis Mills on a bad Houston team going up against Carolina. Carolina is minus 8.5 here, favored by 8.5 points the last time I checked. Do you think Carolina covers tonight?
Yeah, I do. Miles Davis, I mean, so this quarterback, he only had 11 starts at Stanford. 11 career starts there. And in the preseason this year, he had 5 turnovers in 3 preseason appearances. I don't think he's ready for the big stage on a Thursday night as the only game. And Carolina's D, look what they've done already. They seem to be real. The defensive coordinator, he talked about how fast all his guys are, and they must be. I mean, they faced Jameis Winston and Zach Wilson, and those guys had 3 turnovers and 10 sacks between them in the first 2 weeks. And I think it's going to be more of the same here. You've got Christian McCaffrey, you got the Carolina D, and I also like this under, even though I think it's 43 right now. And usually I like to play favorites with overs, kind of, but this one is one that I don't know if Houston gets double digits in this game. I just don't. So I'm all over Carolina, and I like the under too. But Carolina is the main one. It sounds like you're kind of like on the same boat with me, right? Yeah. It just looks. And Christian McCaffrey's going to really eat against them. This is going to be 100 rushing, 100 receiving. I have him in one of my fantasy football teams. If you guys got him, you're going to win your week this week. I mean, because it's going to start off with like 40 or 50 fantasy points with McCaffrey. He's finally going to start scoring some touchdowns. He's only scored 1, I think, so far.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have the misfortune of not having him on any of my teams this year. I had him on 2 of my teams last year, which was the worst time to have him because he was injured for like all but 2 games last year. And it was terrible luck I had. Right?
Oh, you got nailed. No doubt. Yeah. I picked up Mike Davis, after he went down last year, which was pretty good for a while.
Yeah, that is a good call.
McCaffrey's just he's a machine. I don't even know what, is he okay? Here's a question though. And running backs, they take a lot of abuse. What if a running back like that was able to sustain a career like Tom Brady? Would that God. That would be over and above.
He'd be making quarterback money, I can tell you that, because running backs don't usually sniff that quarterback money.
Right, exactly.
Can you imagine, in 20 years, Christian McCaffrey is still putting up 2,000 total yards?
Yeah, the CM12 diet. He'll use Tom Brady's number so he can play off of it. He'll call it CM12, CMick12.
Oh, dude, that is brilliant. And by the way, whenever you can, because I know that some insight you're able to sometimes bring us is where the money is going, like where the majority of the plays are on. Do you have anything for that game?
Yeah, on this one. So you've got the biggest discrepancy. And what I look for here is a number of tickets percentage wise compared to the volume. Because if the volume is on the opposite side, that shows wise money, or the big money's on that side. So that's the biggest thing I look for here. And on this one, it is a total. Because the wager count on the total is pretty even, but the volume is 75% on the over. So the wise money's going against what I like on the under. I didn't even pay attention. Look at this earlier. And that's so wise money's on the over on this game. So I would say go against me. I mean, I like Carolina, a lot better as a side bet, but looks like the wise money's over. And I'll go with them a lot on these things because they're smarter than me. I mean,
they're smarter than all of us.
Flat out. I mean, if you just, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to accept these things, right? It's like I do what I can with what I got. Boom.
That is so good. So I want to go to my local team down here, and you were right to advise us last week. You were very right, in fact, on the Bills -3.5.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are dogs again. This time they go on the road against a Las Vegas Raiders team that they're off to a fantastic start, Barry. I mean, they beat the Ravens and the Steelers. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start than the one that they've had. They are 4-point favorites, are Las Vegas at home, so the Dolphins are +4 in this game. Are the Dolphins going to lose another one, or you see them covering this week?
Well, Tua's not playing, so
no.
You got Jacoby Brissett, and so I don't like the Dolphins here, and I mean, this wouldn't be a strong play either way because the Raiders, as in fantasy football, for example, I would stream their defense against Brissett, but as far as the defense goes, so Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines.
I know the feeling.
Miami's got a great defense against the pass, but they've got a great secondary. But they're allowing almost 5 yards of carry on the rush. Josh Allen's been, I guess, injured basically. He's not going to play again, but. This would be like kind of a pass for me, but if I was to play it, I would have to go with the Raiders just because I don't know what Brissett's going to do. And Miami, what have they scored? 10 points in 2 games, or 17 points?
Yeah, they had 17 points. Yeah.
17 points. So it's the offense isn't going, and to bring in a new quarterback, I'm leery. I'm leery at best. This is a stay away game for me, but it's you can justify either side, but not as a strong play. Let's look to see. And since Tua's out, the numbers on this game, they're based on such low volume. It doesn't tell me. I mean, it's got the total at 99% on the over in volume. So this shows we just opened that up.
Yeah.
They just opened it today, and the lines table advised me and said, "Hey, on this game, just to know." We just opened it, so these are going to be way skewed, way off. So don't go by that, or go by it. I don't know.
Maybe the couple people who have already gone all in on that over really know what they're looking for here.
Right. I mean, it's and if you want to go, okay, so volume wise, okay, on this is volume is more on the Dolphins. And the wager count is on the Raiders. So early wise money is on the Dolphins. So, I mean, that's something that's got a little bit of credibility. I would wait on some bigger sample set, but
yeah, no doubt. A couple more games I wanted to get to with you. The Chargers at the Chiefs. Chargers had a tough one last week against Dallas. Chiefs are 1-1 as well. Chiefs are -7 at home. What do you like there?
Now this one, since it's a division rivalry, I don't like giving up a touchdown, even if it's Kansas City coming off a loss. So I would Herbert's lighting it up again. He's averaging like 337.5 yards a game passing right now. And it's Michael Williams. I mean, if he's available in fantasy football leagues, pick him up because they've got him in a new role. He was just a speedster that they're bombing to. And so now they're getting him those high percentage plays, across the middle and shorter. And it's really, I mean, he's leading the team in targets. He's doing some really great things. And the Chargers, they also held Dak when they play to like the number 29 QB as far as fantasy. I mean, like they limited him pretty well. So the Chargers D is not going to limit Mahomes, obviously, but this is one that I think goes down to the last score. And on that kind of a game, I think I want to take +7 if I can get it. At 6. I would probably play Kansas City, maybe 5.5, definitely Kansas City. But so I think they win the game, but I don't want to give 7 to that Chargers team this year.
I hear you. Another one I want to get to. This should be a great game, and I think the spread reflects that. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. Bucks are a 1-point favorite, -1. Rams +1. What do you think happens here? This should be a great one.
Over.
Beautiful. Yeah, 55.5.
Yeah, I'm still going over on this. The Bucks, if they keep their streak going, which I think they will, there's 30 right there at least. But what about Gronk showing up? Scoring double touchdowns again. Like that guy, he's got to be on TB12 also. I mean, he's got to be cheating. They got to start testing people for TB12 is what they got to do. I mean, that's got to be some kind of performance enhancer that's just not right. I mean, look at Tom Brady. Come on. Always goes back to him, but I don't as far as the side goes, I mean, it'd be hard for me to go against Tampa Bay and the Bucks, but at only 1 point, it sure is tempting. What do you think on this one? I mean, the Rams play them tough. There's another division game.
I'm going to go with the Bucks and TB12 until proven otherwise. It's one of those things. Especially, it's essentially a pick'em game. I know they're on the road, but I think I'm going to ride with the Bucks there.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Listen, if they go a couple weeks without covering, maybe I'll reevaluate. But I think I'm going to stick with the Bucks until further notice. Another one, last one I wanted to get into with you, and obviously we're a lot of Dolphin fans watch us AFC East. So I'd love your take on New England hosting New Orleans. And New England, they did right the ship last week against the Jets. A lot of people are going to beat up on the Jets this year, but I think New England is a quality team. They are 3-point favorites at home against the Saints. The over-under here is 42 points even. Do you like anything in this game?
I like the under, which is I hate betting unders. I hate betting unders.
Yeah, because you're rooting for something not to happen. It's frustrating.
And you could lose at any time. All of a sudden it's like touchdown.
You're like,
So the Saints' rush D is like immovable. I mean, they are 2.3 yards a carry, I think, 2.3 in the first 2 weeks. And the Pats D, the Saints, they're strong this year too. So the Saints and Pats, I like the under in this. If I'm going to bet a side, I mean, I'm going to have to go with the Pats on this. And this isn't a strong one, but the fact that Jameis Winston just last week just flubbed again. I think he had 2 interceptions.
Yep.
I mean, he had these plays last week it's something crazy like 71 to 43 or as far as the number of plays that the Saints ran. They only ran like 40 some plays. And so Jameis Winston, I just don't trust him. I don't trust him after week 1. What do you have? 78 yards passing, and he had 5 touchdowns, I think.
And no interceptions, which is the real miracle for him to have no interceptions.
and then last week, it's back to being Jameis, and as he's getting hit too on like almost 30% of his dropbacks. So I'm guessing Belichick figures out a scheme to really take them out and do that. But I like this to be a really tough defensive game.
Yeah.
So the under on that and also on the Pats, because the Pats, they spent all that money in off season. They got Mac Jones, who hasn't thrown an interception yet. He's not doing anything crazy or lighting it up super, but Belichick doesn't want that. Don't turn it over. Play
and that reminds me a lot of Brady's first couple of years, because Brady didn't really start lighting it up until he was a few years as the starter. Like that first season when he took over for Bledsoe, very conservative. They relied on their defense. He didn't make any mistakes. The second year was pretty similar, so it is following that similar pattern.
Exactly. Belichick will loosen that leash a little bit, give you a little bit of line, a little bit, okay. But right at first, you're like right here. You're not going anywhere.
Oh, man. And by the way, I have to ask you this before we let you run, because, you gave us that prop. Are you going to continue sticking with this on Jared Goff throwing interceptions, and I'm not sure
Every
what
week.
what the prop is for that this week.
I don't even have to look. Every week.
Yeah, love it. Every week. And we're going to keep playing that till the wheels come off.
Oh, yeah.
And they may never come off.
Till they go to minus 250. They got up to minus 190, I think, on it last week. And so they're going to figure it out. They're going to get to minus 250 or something where it's going to be not worth it. But, at less than minus 200, I'm playing it every week.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And hey, if you have anything to promote, if you've written anything this week at betus.com, of course, that's where they can find you. Let us know if there's anything you want to plug.
Oh, you bet. And you can find us on Twitter. We've got a bunch of Twitter channels. We got betus_official at betus_official. Well, we've got our NFL. We've got our college. So we've got a few different Twitter things. In the locker room, for information, go check it out because there is so much information there that helps you get a good grip on the game. I mean, it's nice to go into a game confident instead of just going, I'll just bet this side. This gives you information on all the teams, all the matchups, everything. So at least you've got a little basis. And don't forget live betting's huge. Live betting's so awesome, big. Man.
Yeah.
And that 200% bonus is just, unbelievable. It's going to go away at some point. 200 for cryptocurrency, get in there and make your first deposit now so that you get that crypto bonus. I don't know. They haven't said when they're taking it off the table, but, I might be able to get your guys in it a little bit longer if I
see, I love that. And listen, and holding crypto. I know we had a dip last week, but we're climbing back today. So the portfolios are doing better now. So it's a good time to have that crypto and invest it and get those 200% bonuses at betus.com with our code 5RSN. You can use either 5RSN 125 or 5RSN 200. That'll get you the 200% bonus on crypto. Barry,
absolutely.
Excellent job as always, man. And hey, hopefully the picks go as well this week as they did last week because we're swimming in dough, man.
I hope so. You're one of my two favorite shows every week. There's two that I just love. There's a couple that are kind of like, meh. But man, no, this is fun. This is fun every week. I appreciate you guys. Really,
I appreciate you, man. Enjoy your weekend coming up, dude.
You do the same, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Good stuff there by Barry Barger. I love it, man. I love it. By the way, I hadn't even mentioned yet today because we started off with all this Deshaun Watson stuff, quarterback issues. By the way, I think a couple of people, not only in this chat, but on Twitter, to me, made a really good point. Another issue, and I am not in favor. I'm going to say that for those who may have just tuned in. I am not in favor of going out and trading for Deshaun Watson. At least not until all of his legal issues get settled. So if Tua has a poor year after he comes back and you want to revisit in the offseason, we can cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm not in favor of making a move here within the next week or two just to try and solve your temporary quarterback woes. I'm not about that. I'm not in favor of it. But a couple people have made a great point that your issues right now are a lot bigger than just being without your starting quarterback. I mean, your offensive line looked embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. So, and listen, you could say Deshaun Watson, his legs are electric, right? So is he more equipped to evade a rush than more so than Jacoby Brissett as well. So he could do more with this offensive line than your current quarterbacks can. But I still think with that offensive line, even a guy like Watson is not an automatic fix, that you still have too many issues because he's still going to be under pressure. He's still going to be getting hit. He's still going to be getting sacked. You're still going to have trouble running the football. So I think the people who have pointed out to me on Twitter and in this chat that your problems are a lot bigger right now than your starting quarterback being out for, anywhere between 1 to 4 weeks. That's my speculation, by the way, anywhere between 1 to 4 weeks without your starting quarterback. Your problems go a lot deeper than just your quarterback being out. And it's not just the Miami Dolphins who are going to be without their starting quarterback this weekend. De'Ara King is not going to play for the Miami Hurricanes on Saturday. He's got a shoulder issue. Now, if you had an actual game and you weren't playing against Central Connecticut State, King would potentially be able to go. So I think it's wise. It is wise to hold him out for this game. There's just no reason to play him. You can make all the jokes you want to about how bad Miami is this year, but it is impossible for them to lose outright to Central Connecticut State. I'm not sure what the spread is It's possible CCSU can cover with probably like a 30-point spread, 35-point spread, but it's impossible for Central Connecticut State to win this game. So you absolutely might as well let De'Ara King rest. So I don't know for sure who they're starting at quarterback. I can imagine they're starting Tyler Van Dyke because he's been the second guy on the depth chart. I'm sure both quarterbacks will play unless Miami's struggling so much. You're going to see two quarterbacks play in this game. I'm looking forward more to watching Jake Garcia. And I might be a little bit biased to the fact that he was a more highly touted recruit than Van Dyke was, more sought after recruit, better high school player. And in the spring game where they both played, Garcia looked a lot better in the spring game. Now, Van Dyke is a year older. He has the red shirt. Garcia is in a potential red shirt year. They haven't burned that yet. I don't think they're going to burn it. He can play in 5 games without burning the red shirt. So I think this is going to go down as a red shirt year for Garcia. So he's less experienced, doesn't know the offense as well as Tyler Van Dyke does. He has the year head start. But to me, like Garcia, when I was watching him in the spring game, I said, that looks like a quarterback. Like that looks like a guy who can do great things at Miami as long as they don't screw up the talent development and as long as they can find some offensive linemen, which is a trouble. It's a problem for the Hurricanes as it is for the Dolphins. But I imagine we'll see both quarterbacks play this week. I think Van Dyke is going to start. Garcia would maybe come on like in the third or fourth quarter. And that was I did put up a poll question today on Twitter. Let me see if I can find where the results are. Oh, and by Devin Jordan, thank you so much. He says, Donno, I love my Dolphins, but sorry, don't think they win this weekend against the Raiders. I don't either. I mean, how can I pick the Dolphins to beat a good team after what we just saw last week? I think I wouldn't be shocked if they win because I think there is a path to victory, but I don't think the Dolphins are equipped to take it right now. So hold on, I'm trying to find the results on. God, I tweet way too much. Oh, here it is. Okay. I asked which of the young Canes quarterbacks will shine brighter this Saturday. And by the way, every poll question I put up on Twitter is served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill, a great sponsor of ours. And Devin Jordan, thank you so much again for the super chat, sir. Tyler Van Dyke or Jake Garcia, 60% of the votes say that they think Jake Garcia will shine brighter this Saturday. Now, it could help him if he's the guy who comes on in relief after Miami is already bludgeoning, I hope, CCSU. If he's the guy who comes on in relief, that might work in his favor. Or it might not, because if Miami has a big lead, they'll probably bring him on and just hand off the football over and over and over and over again. But yeah, I think Jake Garcia is going to end up being Miami's future starting quarterback next year and beyond. And I'm looking forward to seeing at least a little bit of him. Danny Weiss says the Finns could, if they could get my son, he will put his heart into it more than Deshaun Watson would. Oh yeah, Danny Weiss, the Pitbull. He sent me a picture of his, I think high school age son who's playing football now. He looks like a beast. Like he looks like I don't know if he'd be playing quarterback. He'll probably be like playing like tight end or offensive line or something because he looks like a monster out there. But yeah, maybe a future Miami Dolphin in the making. I can't thank you guys enough. Everyone who's tuned in, Devin and Big John Stud had the super chats. Thank you guys. Danny Weiss, Mr. Buckets, David, who's always a staple. And David, he's always the first guy in on the chat. So he's like camped out, ready to go even before we go live, which I love. Cap for Life, Rafael Matos, thank you. Rafa in Miami. So we have Rafael and Rafa watching. Big John Stud, of course. Hussam Patel, thank you so much, sir. And we'll be getting him. He couldn't make it on today. He'll be he's a usual Thursday guest for us. I think he's going to be back with us last week because I love Hussam. He's great. Jared O'Kane, thank you so much. Ray Grullon, another one of our favorites. Devin Jordan, I think I mentioned. MB Beggs, my guy Marco up in Canada. He said he was just happy that the Toronto Raptors got their ring. That was a huge championship that they won. Michael Rodriguez, thank you. Martina Davies, thank you so much. Andrew Harris, thank you for stopping in and chatting with us. Michael Rodriguez. Let's see who else. I start to confuse myself with all the repeat messages. Oh, Big Dan 305, who was happy he could actually watch live today. He usually has to catch the replays. Eduardo Landeros, thank you so much for tuning in. And I apologize to those who were very early because I can only scroll up so much. I got massive carpal tunnel in these fingers. It's bad, bro. I'm addicted to the iPhone. I type way too much. Got that. Isn't carpal tunnel? That's like a Gen Z disease. All these kids that are just on the PlayStation 24/7, like their fingers get ruined. The carpal tunnel. It's a serious issue, my friends. So huge shout out, of course, to our guests today, Barger and Ethan Skolnick. If you missed any part of the show, the replay is going to be instantly available on YouTube. As soon as we wrap up the live feed, the replay is going to be right there for your consumption. We encourage you check it out. And make sure you check out our sponsors, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Guys, I'm going to be going down there this weekend and early next week as well. I'm craving the All-American burger. The last time I was out there, I had the French dip sandwich with the au jus dipping sauce. It's elite. I'm craving the burger. I like it cooked medium, that American cheese on top. Oh, my God. Sometimes I get some Swiss or some pepper jacks. So freaking good, man. I'm going to be out there grabbing a burger this week. The seafood is always fresh at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Whether you want to build your own poke bowl, eat some of that fresh mahi-mahi, the buffalo shrimp is so good. Oh, man. Make sure you save at least a little room for dessert because after you knock down some seafood, you want to eat some of that key lime cheesecake. That is the perfect way to finish every meal. The Quarterdeck has drink specials, guys. 2-for-1 happy hour is all day, every day. They always have 2-for-1 drinks. Happy hour never ends, 7 days a week. Saturdays and Sundays during football season, take advantage of the 5 for $15 ice-cold buckets of imported beer and High Noon Hard Seltzer, the Heineken family of beers, or High Noon Hard Seltzer, or mix and match to your heart's content. Watch every college football game, every pro football game out there, the flat screen, high-def TVs covering every wall. And this weekend, UFC 266, you can watch every UFC pay-per-view fight at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. So instead of paying $70 to watch it at home or going to one of these fly-by-night sports bars that try to charge you like $20 a head at the door, don't pay a cover charge, man. They won't do that to you at the Quarterdeck. Zero cover charge for a UFC pay-per-view fight. If you want to peep their menu before you go, or just find the location nearest to you, quarterdeckrestaurants.com. And I've already mentioned to you guys, BetUS. It is our official sports book. I've got 3 active bets today in Italian Serie A. I'm going to be betting Thursday Night Football tonight. I'm going to be betting all the weekend games. I'm having so much fun, guys. You know, whether you're making $5 wagers or you're a high roller betting hundreds of dollars, there is something for everybody at betus.com. If you sign up with our code 5RSN125 or 5RSN200, you get a sign-up bonus. The 200% bonus is when you make a deposit with crypto. The 125% bonus, which is also awesome, is when you deposit with credit card. So take advantage, use our code, because using our code not only gives us love, because they know, hey, this is a Donno referral. We love Donno Daily. You not only give us the credit, but you also get yourself a nice, fat, juicy bonus, which is great. BetUS.com. You play, you win, you get paid. And huge shout out to Manny Chang in the back. I think our guy Sean Stanley is on a little road trip. He's on a little family vacation this week. Remember, Manny, the shoes. Oh, my God, the shoes. Manny, Sean, and I. Sean is going to text us his picks. We're going to be picking 4 NFL games week 3 for the weekend. And Manny and I are 4-4. We pick 4 games a week. Sean Stanley is 1-7. So can he get out of the cellar this week? We will find out, my friends. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on another episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.